Oh,
So
this is
anyway,
great. Thank thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
I like your backdrop.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just, I was doing all my stuff at home and I came back down to the warehouse and I thought I've got to get to the warehouse and I thought this one originally I thought I was going to do at home and I thought no, I want to go down to the warehouse and
Yeah,
give the feel, you know
yeah,
what I mean,
yeah,
of the
yeah,
place. So,
yeah.
yeah, good.
And you should, and you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Much better.
so yeah, typically what I do is I think this show is probably going to be probably very interesting. I'm hoping and fun.
Mhm.
That I'll have it unedited and I will put it up on YouTube. You know, just to
Great.
have the video content. Really,
Yeah.
you know what's a funny thing is that Facebook took over my Facebook page in February. They like banned it, not my professional page, right?
Wow.
And I had to prove I was me, although my page is called Wendy Cooper. And
Yeah, go figure.
pictures, my pictures
Yeah.
are everywhere, right?
Unreal.
I had to prove it. And so I just got it back yesterday. And
Yesterday from February.
yeah, yeah, I
Oh
just got it
my
back.
God.
Yeah, and you know why I think I got it back was because I went on Facebook and I said, "What if I just say my personal page?" And I said, "What if I just say something about Russia or COVID-19 cure or because I know the bots
Yeah.
are looking for
Sure.
those things." Next
Sure.
thing you
Sure.
know, I have my Facebook page back.
That is wild.
I know.
Yeah. Who knows what Facebook is doing? I don't even think the people that I know that know the best and they don't have any inside information, they're just on it a lot, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
and buy a lot of ads. They're convinced not even Facebook knows what they're doing. You know, it's such a huge algorithm with so many layers and levels that no one from any given time knows what it's doing. And why it's making the selections it's selecting. I've been in Facebook jail a good dozen times. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, I was banned for a month from making any comments on anybody else's sites. And that partially is my fault because I used to distribute my shows on different pages. So I would go and paste the
Oh,
page in
yeah. Yeah.
and I always figured it's somebody's choice. If they want to take it down, they can, or if it was banned, I wouldn't put it on there, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I figured after a while that was just almost too risky to do.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
want
have to
to.
be very careful because
Yeah,
I had my ad account a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago now, when ads were really working on Facebook.
yeah,
Back in the day when they were new and the clicks were really cheap. And I come from
right.
direct response, and so it's like that was a really great place to be. And then one day, I have a toilet stool that I do, and one day I posted a picture of a guy at the beach with nice abs, and I said
Hmm.
if in an ad, and because it showed his skin, they banned me from ever
Wow.
running an ad ever again.
No.
Uh-huh. And
Wow.
I didn't realize at the time that all I had to do was really use a different email address and kind of, like hack the system, which I
Yeah,
eventually, about a year later, I did do. But that
yeah.
was ridiculous. And now
Oh,
they have all
that's
that
crazy.
shit on Facebook about all sorts of crap, man.
Oh man, it's
So
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I
Yeah,
have one question for you. How do I
sure.
look? How
You
do I
look
look?
beautiful. You
So,
look beautiful.
so the light is
Actually, and,
good.
and oh yeah, no, you look very good. Yes, yes. Actually, when I saw you, this goes so far back into the netherworld. Were you ever an extra?
I was talent. But I was going to say to you, I can't believe we never worked together.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
in the
yeah.
early days of you just being a grip or whatever you were as you were, because I watched an interview with you as you
Right,
were working your way through, the world. I was producing. I was learning how basically to produce, and
right.
but because I use Greg Kendrick a lot. I use
Oh,
Tom
Greg. So
McDonald.
you know Greg, sure, and Tom McDonald.
Yes,
Oh my God. Oh my
yes,
God. When you
yes.
when you
I
Tom
know.
McDonald. Do you know this? Any part of this story? I mean,
I
Tom
I don't.
McDonald,
I worked with Tom a lot. Whenever I had to do beauty, I would hire Tom.
that is amazing because Tom McDonald was the guy who got me the first job as a $50 a day PA in Orange County.
Oh my God.
And this gets thicker. Okay. I knew Tom's family in Tacoma. We're both from Tacoma.
Oh wow.
I never knew Tom. And I was transferred in my job from Tacoma down to LA. And then I met him when he was going to AFI. We became roommates after that. And he got me my first job on that $50 a day PA set. Then we had a bit of a falling out, somewhere after a year or something, and it was a work fallout. So I went a totally different direction. I didn't see him for 20 years.
Holy moly. So
Okay.
that rules out us ever working together on a Tom
on
McDonald
on a
gig.
Tom McDonald shoot. Yeah, and Greg Kendricks
Hmm.
did not hire me very often, which both of those things are what I and if they would have, I probably never would have bought a piece of gear. But because I was like the third guy out, I started buying gear, put it in a little van, right? And in 10-year time, I became the biggest grip and lighting company south of Los Angeles.
Are you running
And
water?
that just exploded. There's sounds over here. We'll close the door when my guy gets back. I'll
Okay.
close the door.
Okay.
Yeah. And so ironically, and here's like the piece de resistance on this story. Okay. So I did run into Tom one time at a studio, and I mean, there was no like animosity, I mean, it wasn't like we were in fighting or anything. So this last December, the last week of the year, right, between Christmas and New Year's, I go up to my hometown in Tacoma, Washington. I take my wife to show her where I grew up, and there's a park, that has a big drive-through in it, right? And my wife was just so excited about taking pictures. She goes, "Let me out here, let me out here," So she jumped out to go take some pictures. I go up to the next parking lot to pull in. I'm
There's
there
Tom.
in my car, and there's Tom McDonald and his wife, and we're the only people in that entire
Oh
parking.
my God.
It
Talk
was
about
surreal.
serendipity.
It was surreal. We were both just like we were looking at each other like this,
That's crazy.
mouth
Just just
open.
to just to back up so people listening understand, right?
Yeah,
That so Tom McDonald, I worked with Tom and Greg Kendrick because I was learning, right? And I knew that I needed to hire a director of photography that
hmm
also, or a shooter, basically, that also was going to bring along all of the lighting and the crew with
of
him,
course.
right? So
Yep,
the difference is that you're not a DP. You
right,
don't shoot. You
right.
don't shoot. You never did shoot, right? Or
No,
no?
I don't operate camera and shoot, and there was a very um, well, I learned it in the marketplace. I didn't pre, I didn't know this going in. I was a gaffer, and what I found was there was much more work for a gaffer who could service a director of photography, especially if you own gear,
Yeah,
than there was for somebody that was a DP and just tried to get his gear on all of those
right.
things. So I learned that in the marketplace, and it really served me well. You know,
Yeah, I was watching an interview with you. It was in 2011. The person interviewing you was in a very short dress.
hmm I remember well.
When I turned it on, Bernie, it
Uh-huh.
was like I'm going, how can he even talk? He's just, you know, how can he even focus on a thought?
that
But
that's that's years of man training right there.
that's crazy, but it's on YouTube. And actually, it was from 2011, but it was really interesting because it did talk about your entire journey through and how you became, who you are, and your company has become who you are. So let's do this before we go any further, because you and I can chit chat all day long
Oh,
about a
you bet.
lot of stuff. I'm telling you. Because I came up through the ranks exactly how you came up. I
Yes.
learned as I went, right? And
Yes.
I know what I don't know. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even a big lesson to talk about, because when you do come up through the ranks like that, sometimes you question what you know or what you don't know, but yet you do know, right? Your gut is telling you that it's the right thing, but all the people you're surrounding yourself with aren't thinking in this creative solution brain of really what your vision is, and so they're
Right.
telling you no, it's not, you're wrong, and you listen to them, and then you realize, oh wait a minute, I my gut was telling me the right thing. But anyway, um, so let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about your journey
Okay.
real concisely. First part of the show, we'll talk about your journey, your hard work, and then also explain to people, because a lot of people these days, of course, don't know what is a gaffer, right?
Yeah.
What is a best boy? What is
Yeah.
all this lingo that you have to know in language, and how important that is? And even from if you want to go produce something and you want to hire a crew, right? It's like you really
Oh,
have to know what the heck's going on, or else you can get uh, you can hire the unworthy and get screwed on a budget. But
well, I think
anyway,
that's probably a very big missing link is client education on what how you define what you need and then hire the appropriate crew
right, right,
for
right.
that. I see, it's very, and I don't know if you want to start there or not, but it's probably, as good. Yeah, we can start wherever you want. I'll just speak to that for a minute.
Yes, absolutely.
So many, I realized early on when I was coming into this and I was starting to talk to people, and I was using all my own skills that I had developed in business, to do on my own thing. One of the first things I learned is nobody knows what production is. They certainly have no idea about lighting. Almost every single person is referring to lighting in the as exposure. That's how they think of it. That we're lighting them to get the picture on the camera. You know what I mean? And it's so much more diverse than that.
Right.
Um, I learned that my biggest part of my job was client education. And so I just approached it like that. And I would educate people on why they needed something. I would interpret
Mm-hmm.
from them what I thought they needed, and I would say why,
Yeah.
and really try hard to hone down in really what they needed. Also, and I'm sure you have experienced this quite well, what is the biggest thing that reference point that people have to refer to in production? It is only movies and television. So they make all those references like, I want it to look like the West Wing. I want it look like that scene in Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
What I'm just throwing things out there now. But that is, you have to be able in our minds to interpret what they are talking about,
That was going to be my question to you. My question is like, do you ask them, or did you ask them? Do you ask them? Give me a visual of what your vision is in your head, right? Because if I'm going to light something, like you say, West Wing versus, um, well, anything on television, that's all LUTs and color correction and mood
Oh,
and all sorts of shit that goes into that,
yeah,
setting that what that actually looks like. Maybe you're now you have to light it for
yeah,
actually for post. There's
yeah.
just so much that goes into everything,
Well,
you know.
and honestly, where I start at is, well, and we must step back. Let me just
Yeah,
make this statement.
yeah,
All media is emotion. It
right.
doesn't work with logic. It's all about how you feel about something,
Mm-hmm.
not what you think about something. So I start with the thing of first, really, what is your ultimate goal? What are you trying to sell? And I don't ask them those questions, but this is what I'm thinking in my own head.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
saying, so I will ask them, what kind of product is, if we're in a kitchen, I've got
right,
to already know that this is probably going to be, and I'm just going to say it's going to probably relate to a female demographic,
right,
you know,
right,
and I just want to know, and what they will want every single time is, you want a good looking kitchen, you want to feel like morning,
right.
not afternoon. You wanted that. So I'm thinking in those terms of like how to get the feel that puts it back. And for everything that I do, the last thing I worry about is lighting the person.
Yeah,
I'm always thinking about what is the background, because the background, I know I can light the person. I
yeah,
know I can make it as
yeah,
soft as can be,
right,
really warm
right,
and nice, or hard and strong,
yeah,
masculine. You know, I can do that no problem. I want to know about the background, and I want to get that right first, because that's going to deliver the message.
exactly, exactly.
So that's how I think about it. So that's what I try to get down to. I'll ask them what time of morning it is. Is this if it's coffee, I know it's morning. You know what I
Now,
mean?
do
If
you
it's
do you do this because that brings to mind for me. Um, I was shooting a kitchen product. It was a long form. It was like a grill, an indoor grill kind of
yeah,
thing, right? And it was the first time I actually had to produce and shoot food, real food, which was
uh-huh. Right.
wow,
That's a
wow.
trip. Yeah.
That's a trip. It was four cameras, and we had to
Mm-hmm.
build the kitchen set. So the kitchen
Wow.
set was partially built at the studio. It was out there in the valley somewhere, but we
Mm-hmm.
had to build out the um, what you saw through the window above the
Okay,
sink,
right. Yes,
right?
yes, yes, right.
And what was in the cupboards, because
Mm-hmm.
they were glass. You had to
Mm-hmm.
build out the whole set and set
Yeah.
art direction and all that. I love doing that. I love all the hats, right?
Yeah.
But I remember on that shoot, it took us, we scheduled an entire day just to do and light the set, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was it, and organize
Right.
everything else, but to light the background and the mood of the set and design the set. That was an
Yeah.
entire day. We didn't
Yes,
shoot
yes.
one single frame of footage.
Yes, yes. And that is quite common. I mean, so many times the budget will not allow you to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're cutting, I won't say cutting corners, but you're simplifying it. You know what I mean? Where you're not taking care of all of the details. And frankly, sometimes there's not even the reason to go into that much detail. I would say, here's how I sort of judge it. If it's going to get a lot of airplay, right? And most of the time, I have no idea of what
No,
that
you never
answer
know.
is.
You
Yeah,
never know
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
producing something, if it's even going to ever get seen by
If
anybody.
going to seen by anybody, yeah.
Right.
But if it's going to get a lot of airplay, then you want to go and take more time in the details. If it's not, and you're simply giving more message involved, you know what I mean, which I personally think will not be as effective, then it's going to be what it is. You're going to just use the time. So many times, you're doing something for that's going to be a 3-day shoot, but you've got 4 hours to light it.
Yeah,
Now
that
you're
sucks. I
making
hate that.
yeah, me too, me too. And you're doing fixes all the time. So as you go through, you're not discernibly changing the set, but you're fixing all your little
Well,
problems.
you
But the
know,
fact that you have to have them in the first place.
yeah, it's like, today they call it, it's just a big hack. It's like, yeah, you're on set and now you're hacking all day long, right? You're finding solutions, you're Mickey Mousing things, you're going, well, we can always, if you could see, and I will show you later,
Hmm.
why I'm on my laptop
Yeah,
and how I took my standard ring light
yeah,
and Jimmy rigged it to sit
yeah.
on top of my
Right.
laptop. So I'm literally looking through my ring light like you should be looking
Yes.
through a ring light, right?
Right.
Because I
Right.
can go, watch, this is up, this
Yeah.
is down, and this is without,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
But
great demonstration.
there is no there is no holder that I want to create the holder that goes over the laptop because you can't use a ring light properly with a laptop.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
everybody uses laptops because you
Yes,
can't put a
absolutely.
frickin' laptop in the center of a ring light.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
you
there's
know.
your new invention. I think we're in the golden age of opportunity. And there you go. I
Yes,
mean, there's
yes,
things coming out all the time
yeah,
that fix those very problems that wasn't even a problem 3 months ago,
no,
4 months ago,
yeah. Yeah,
So,
and it really
yeah.
makes a big difference. But anyway, I'll show it to you after. I have a
Yeah.
photograph that I took like this where you can actually see. And then my microphone is actually in my drawer of my desk, so it's
Okay.
lower.
So it's a
But this is
hack. Yeah.
this is the stuff that you do on set all the
Yeah.
time, right? To
Right.
your point,
Right.
you know?
Right. And, so many times, the vast majority of the time that I have stepped on set, I never had a scout. I've never seen a picture of the environment,
Right,
or they
right,
have told me I was going to be somewhere and sent a picture of it, and it's changed between the time that I got the picture and I got on set.
right, right.
So I just go in. It's really funny. You know, in the process of how you're doing it, there's there's no shoot that I've been on that I've ever taken for granted. Now, I got more comfortable as my career went on and I did all that,
Yeah,
you know
you
what I
knew
mean?
you could,
And time again, I knew I was going to solve problems.
right.
I knew that. But I never take it for granted that it's going to just be easy or simple or that. And for that reason, I've never actually tried to figure out too hard exactly what I was going to do and be married to it. Now, there are exceptions where you really walk through the set several times. You know what the DP and the
That
director are
that
saying?
Bernie, that noise, who makes that noise,
Okay,
you can
you
really
know
hear
what?
it.
Let me get up. I'm going to just close the door.
Okay,
That's
that would
going
be
to do it.
great
And I'm
because it's
down here in
really
my
hard.
warehouse, so this is an industrial park. So
That's
that's
okay.
what you're hearing.
But
Yeah,
it, yeah,
yeah.
you just hear it in the background.
Okay, hold on. I'll do that real quick.
Okay. I know I would regret it later if I didn't have him get up and turn that or shut that door. I mean, that's just obnoxious. So anyway, that's a sound thing. But he's a grip or a gaffer, so he's lighting, right? I have so many questions to ask him. You guys, you should send me emails, ask me questions about all of this stuff. It's so interesting.
Yeah, we're
Mm,
we're on. We just closed the door because we were hearing that sound out there. So we
yeah,
did it. Yeah.
you could
Thanks.
really hear it. Yeah, everything picks up.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, yeah,
I would regret later not insisting on you shutting the door.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, 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 no problem. Yeah, no problem. Um, so yeah, I would just say that I have never walked in too locked down on what I'm going to do,
Right.
and I think that's been a very good attribute I've developed is being able to problem solve, you know, on set and do it as quickly as I could. You
Well,
know.
a lot of people don't understand. So I would work with you. I understand what you're saying because you would be the person that would be talking to me about what it is, the mood, the feel, what are we going after here? What does the product represent? Because a lot of
Right.
times maybe you would later on at the end of the shoot be maybe shooting tabletop or shooting close-ups
Of course.
of using the product, and maybe the product includes a brush. I mean, there's a million different shots,
Yes.
depending on what the shot list is also, right? You have to take that
Mm-hmm.
into consideration, because you're gonna, and you had also said in the interview I was listening to, what you have to understand is that people, you don't really care anything else except for what is in the frame of the camera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is
Right.
all that matters, everyone.
Right.
You know?
Right. Right. And that's when you come on set and people do that, and this is something I had to get used to. And I was, like I said, I was older when I got on set.
Yeah,
Is like, doesn't that matter? And no, it's not on frame. It actually does not exist in that
exactly.
world, in your
Right,
world. You know what I mean?
right.
And yeah, it's something to get used to because your decision making process has a lot to do with lighting. About I can put a light there, it's not in frame, right? So
Right.
yeah, all
Exactly.
of that works.
Exactly. That's how I This is not in frame.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
ring
no.
light is not in frame of
You
my
just
camera.
the frame is what's in frame, and
Exactly.
that looks good. You know what I
And
mean? And that's it.
a big mistake, I think that, well, I used to see it and I probably made it and then I learned not to make it. And sometimes it has to do with budget. You're trying to squeeze that
Oh,
budget, and
very
is
much.
that is that you maybe hire a team of people and they're not letting you know that you have to have a client monitor. You have to have a director's monitor. You have to have a monitor for these people, and you have to make a reference always through the monitor. If
Yes.
you're how do you set lighting if you don't have the proper monitors to
Well,
look?
I'm so glad to hear you say that because most of the time, and up to this day, I'm working off of many times I'm behind the DP looking at the little flip out camera monitor, and I'm doing this. And when I'm looking at a monitor, of course I'm looking at the lighting, but I'm looking at the whole frame too. Is there a C-stand leg in there? Is
Right.
there a cord that's just creeping into the bottom? Because all that stuff makes a big difference,
You can
in
and
the
you
final
can't.
product.
Yeah, and you usually you cannot see it in the little flip of
No,
the
you
camera.
cannot.
You can't
No,
see
you
it,
cannot. Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
So and
So it's
it's
very important.
well, plus those monitors have to be calibrated also, right?
This is another thing. I never trust the monitor. You know what I mean? You can't trust the monitor. I'll trust the eyepiece and look in the camera like that because I know that's going to be the closest thing adjusted, But monitors are all over the place, and you're making judgments on brightness and stuff like that. And you can't do that because it's not, you have to take your meter out and go with the meter and see exactly what that says. But so many times I've taken a meter out and go, "Are we almost done?" Because they see me now with a meter and they think I'm taking more time than I
Well,
need.
well, in post, I can remember because all of this stuff happened to me. I didn't really understand because I don't understand a lot of stuff, right? I
Hmm.
don't
Hmm. Hmm.
understand a lot of stuff. I know that from the I come up with a concept, I write a script, I see it, I have the vision in my head. I'm not. I'm working with a client, and I'm working with them on many different levels. I know what I need because it's just over the course of 20 something years. I
Of
know what I
course.
need.
Yeah.
I know who I really want to, I trust to work with, right? That they're going to come in, they're going to know, okay, this is Wendy's style of producing, right? This is Wendy's
Hmm.
style of leaning on the DP to also help her direct, because
Right.
what the hell do I know? I mean, my early shows were so badly lit, but
Hmm.
I had
Hmm.
no idea they
Hmm.
were badly lit until I learned what bad lighting was.
Right. No, that's true. It's a process. It's a process, Uh, uh, and that, listen, this is how I feel is as a crew guy, as a gaffer, as we're all on set every day. And I say certainly not in the recent history, but in the last 20 years, if you're a crew person in Southern California, you're working literally at least 3 times a week if you're worth your salt,
Yeah,
and many more than that, times. So we're on it every day, and we get so used to it being there. You know what I mean? We see how so many different things are done and done. I always remind my guys, the clients there and their clients there.
right,
You know what I mean?
right,
Remember, they're not on set every day.
right.
They're not as comfortable as you are on set.
Yeah,
They're not making those assumptions that you're making. Remember that. They're the client. Walk them through it.
right,
And I think it's so important to do that because any good producer relies on their director, their DP, anybody who's out
right,
there on the best practices. Then they make the decision about what they think they need,
right,
and that's really, really
right.
important.
Can we talk a little bit about, because everybody can find your background on YouTube. You talk a lot about your journey and all
Oh,
of
I
that
never
stuff.
stopped talking.
And but I'm curious,
Hmm.
what about 4K, 8K, HDR?
Yeah.
Are you, and then how do you must be constantly learning how to light differently for them or not?
I will say this. I'm a student of lighting, not a master of lighting. And I've said that for 20 years. To this day, I'm a student of lighting. So you don't know how many times I've turned a light on and been very surprised about what it does to this very day. You know, um, 8K, 4K, all of that, those are mediums. You know, for the exact lighting, maybe you need some more intensity, maybe less intensity. Maybe you don't need as much light, and a little bit of light goes a longer way, you know,
And
for
does it
different cameras and
Yeah.
lenses and
Does
stuff like
does
that,
it depend on the director and if he's using a certain type of lookup table for his look
Sure.
and
Yes. 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 All of that stuff does, but the fundamentals don't change
yeah,
like in that sense. You know what I mean?
interesting.
I look pretty much at 4K, 8K, 6K,
Yeah,
as something that is a post thing.
right,
It allows you to do so much more in post,
right.
which, when I got into the business, I never heard this term. We'll fix it in post. Now you
Right.
hear it almost on every set that you go on. We'll
Yeah, which
fix it
is
in
like,
post. Oh, that's old. Yeah, that gets, like, let's get it right. Let's get it
let's
as
get it
close
right
to
now.
perfect. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Because you're
and
not
just
going
go
to
with it.
be in post, dude, that just said we'll fix it in post. You're not going to
Yeah.
be in post.
And you
You're
don't know
not.
who's in post. Who is the person in post? You don't
That's
know
right.
that.
And post is freaking expensive. It's like, that little
Yeah.
cord that you didn't see because you weren't looking in the monitor, and then you have to have that rotoscoped or whatever taken out
Yes.
of the only shot that you have. Well, that
Yep.
just increased your budget substantially,
Yes,
right?
exactly, exactly. So all of the things well, let me just speak to right now. Let me speak to the world we're in at this moment. You had better be learning something new
New.
every single day. We are in the golden age of opportunity. We've all seen what's going on. There is going to be crew cut back, and that's not just because of COVID, it's COVID and technology. You know, um, there you can remotely operate camera
Yeah.
and lighting from anywhere in the world on any set in the world. Okay. You can do that right now with tools that are on the ground for sale, and you can buy them. And they're not that expensive, you know. So I could be in Los Angeles, the DP could be in England, and the studio could be in Dubai, and we could light and operate camera. That doesn't mean you don't have anybody on set. It just means you have less people on set. You have people, maybe a camera assistant and somebody powering the lighting and positioning it. You know, if
And
you throw robotics into the mix, okay, then maybe you don't even have anybody that has to position anything. Maybe you could have a battery pack robotic stand that would have a battery on it that would last long enough for all day. They don't, as of our industry doesn't have those right now. But how far away is it? When you're talking about getting less people on set, you know what I mean? How far are we away from having that solution? So the amount of people are going down on set, and the people that will survive are only the top 1 and 2%. The 3%, third percent, along with the other 97 of them, are going down.
oh,
That
sorry.
it's going to be only the best.
Okay. So, what you're really saying is long gone are the days of working yourself up the ladder by starting off as a PA.
I won't say that. I won't say that. I am saying that you are going to have to continually be educating yourself and continually demonstrating that your knowledge base to your market. So in other words, if I'm learning something new every day and I'm challenging myself and I'm running across new things, new ideas, I want you, Wendy, the producer, to see that through social media or wherever
Right.
you're shopping
Right.
at. I want you to know that I'm the guy that knows that,
Right.
because
So
if I can pre-sell myself and my
yeah.
knowledge to you, you're
Right.
going to buy that.
Right. Right. So use social media. So that's where I think we had this conversation the other day when we talked briefly
Yeah.
about the fact that um, you know uh, so many people are getting kicked out of the corporate world and blah blah blah. And I come
Mm-hmm.
from advertising and marketing, so everything that I ever
Mm-hmm.
did was in direct response advertising and marketing. So I would C-Spot Run, my company C-Spot Run, we would just launch products for lots of different
Right.
companies, and from
Right.
concept to consumer. And um, I understand how to do that, right?
R-
How to launch, because
Second nature.
right. I think everyone. I used to have a radio show. And everyone is a product, and everyone needs marketing
Mm-hmm.
to succeed, right?
Right.
Everyone.
Right.
So you have to do marketing regardless, because uh, and part of that marketing is everything that is free to you, things that are free to you. YouTube is free, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Podcasting is virtually free. I taught myself at
Yes.
65 years old how to do audio edit and sound design to a
Yeah.
limit,
Yeah.
you
No.
know.
Absolutely.
It could be better.
Absolutely.
When I really want it to be good, I'll craft it and
Yeah.
send the file to my audio, post guy, and he'll make it awesome.
Of
But I'm still
course.
crafting it, right?
Yes.
Who
Yes.
who would ever think that I would be able to do that? I used to go into a studio, do the podcast, or do the radio show, and walk out and say, "Okay," and that was that. But now I learned how to do that myself, right? So now I have like
Yes.
this whole new world in sound that I can. Right,
You have an intellectual property right there. You have a whole nother new skill set
right.
that you can utilize for yourself and
That's
market,
right. That's right.
and market, Um, uh, I'm telling you, Wendy, COVID is a tragedy. I will just say that. You know what I mean? A global pandemic, of course, there's been suffering beyond imagination, and
Yes.
people have lost people. I
Yes.
mean, I can't imagine that. People have lost children,
Yeah.
parents, spouses.
Mother-in-laws. My mother-in-law died
Yeah.
from
Oh,
COVID.
oh I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that. Very
Yeah.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But it's also been a total game changer.
Yes.
And in the world of change, innovation reigns supreme. You know, we are living in the golden age of opportunity. And we did discuss that a little bit. And it's just like in any ecosystem,
Right.
you know, the organisms that can adapt survive. The organisms that cannot adapt and do not understand the ability to change mindsets and go new ways and view things in a different light,
Right.
you are not going to survive.
Right.
And or if you survive, it's just going to be an existence, not flourishing you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. It's the mentality of because we're both, I'm 65,
I'm 69.
you're
Yep.
69. We're of this, we're kind of the same. We
Oh
worked
yeah,
really
oh very much
hard.
so.
Nobody paid my way. I learned everything I could.
Same.
And, I was a high school graduate, basically, that eventually found her wheelhouse. And don't ask me
Yeah.
how I did it, but I did. And I'm not sitting on a big savings because I've been an entrepreneur for the
No,
past
we
30
look, we're
years.
we're a whole lot alike. I'll just tell you. Listening to this, I go, oh, that check.
But there's a lot of us out there. But
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I really believe that, we have we have the ability to charge on, because it
Right.
sounds like we were always charging on through adversity,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And you have to have that innate, like, I'm gonna solve the problem. I'm gonna come up with the solution. I'm not gonna frickin' sit and whine about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And or at the end of the day, I'm not even going to write a book. Here, this is
Yeah.
what you need to do. Buy
Yeah.
my book because that's a solution only for me because you're buying my book and I'm making
Yeah.
money. Right. Oh,
Right.
good
Right.
luck with that,
Right.
by the way.
How though, although I will say this, passing on knowledge base and passing on something like this is how I did it, and because you know this, it's not just what you did, it's the mindset you went into it with. And
Yes,
that is the thing that really is the value,
I
you know.
think that's perfect, but it's when I have a problem with people who basically do research
Yeah.
and then they write a book
Yeah.
on this is
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
you
No.
know, or
Yeah.
how to become a life coach
Yeah.
because this is,
Yeah,
like in
right. How
three
to become a
easy
life.
steps.
Right. Yeah, we are seeing that thing go now from the people who really know how to do it to people who are trying to monetize it and then just read a book about LinkedIn and become a LinkedIn expert. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
There's a huge difference.
yeah.
But that, like all things, will pass. You know
Yes,
what I mean? And it comes down to a more pure level then, where you're the gurus, the people who really know, they are the ones who will ultimately win
right.
the game, you
Right.
know.
The people who have gone into the trenches, learned learned why something works, not
Right.
no, use this and this is how you fix that, but use this and you'll fix it because, right?
Right.
Because
And
and you
avoiding, really avoiding pitfalls too. I know for myself, I'm trying to get my phone not to beep. Okay, there we go. You know, but I know for myself, there were ways that I survived and came up, and I you said high school graduate. I graduated with a 1.2 grade average. So I was the lowest
probably
person
did
that had
too.
ever and they'd actually let out of high school. So um but a lot of my thing, and this was my upbringing, it wasn't very good, it was a lot of bad circumstances. um I did work with a lot of almost anger, where I wasn't angry outwardly to people, but I would just like in the inside I was seething, what it mean to a certain degree. And I realized that that was an actual asset that I had because it did take me a lot farther down the road, but then it became a liability. And I think teaching people things like you don't need anger, you need fortitude and understanding your own self.
Yeah.
One thing that I did is I went to therapy, actually not all that long ago, and that was very helpful to me. And I never thought,
Yeah.
I had quit, I was an alcoholic and quit drinking, never went to AA, and white knuckled my way through it. And I was very, I mean, praise the Lord, I was successful at that. And I still have not drank or anything like that, but I didn't need to do that. I wished, maybe not gone to AA, but I wished I would have gotten some counseling. I wished I would have gotten some help. Yet it was very important for me to like handle it myself. And just learning life lessons like that help people maybe shorten the path for themselves so they can excel. You know what I mean?
I think
That
what's
is what I think is really, really important.
you found your place in, well, you decided to do what you wanted to do when you were around 40 years old, right? You that I in an interview you said
Right.
that you got your first PA job and you were around 40 years old. You
Yes.
decided that you came out of the automobile something or other
Mm-hmm.
and went
Right.
into you want to be a PA. And then I later found out that Tom McDonald gave you your first job as a PA for $50.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
All right. But
Yes.
what's
Absolutely.
what's so in parallel once again with our lives is that I was about 36 when I got into the
Okay.
infomercial world, accidentally tripped into
Okay.
it because I had a regular job, a corporate job, blah blah blah, but 6 Day Bio Diet was the infomercial, was a huge success, But the people who were doing it, which was my husband and his ex-partner, my ex-husband, they had no idea about anything that they were doing because back in the day of the 1993, 94, you got into the infomercial
Who
business
knew?
by accident. And then the
Yep.
next thing you knew, you were making hundreds of millions of dollars because everybody was buying shit from TV. I mean, like
Right.
crazy, right?
Right.
So I tripped into that. I never really got removed from it, right? One thing led to another, but I was around 36 years old.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then I went off and everything I learned was because of that happy accident. I don't know if it was so happy, but,
Yeah.
went through a
Yeah.
lot of bad times, good times, bad times. But
Right.
it
Right.
gave me, I didn't know then that it was giving me all of this knowledge and skills to where I pretty much can help any company or anyone in any way with their concept, creative production, supply chain, manufacturing, all of that, and then deliver a beautiful. Do you know I never once had a client on a set with me? I never had a client on a set with me. This,
Wow.
I'm telling you, this is remarkable.
Wow.
I never had a client on a set with me, and I never, well, no, I can't say that. I did have the client on the set with me. I never had a client in the edit bay, ever. Even
Wow.
CBS News was never in the edit bay with me.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's fantastic.
Hmm.
That's
And
fantastic.
I would, I would deliver the project. I did Walter Cronkite. We already had the footage. And when we cut that, I sent it to CBS News and Times Media, the rough cut for approval, and they had one comment, one comment,
Unbelievable.
one,
Unbelievable.
one, you
Yeah.
know? So
That's
I was
incredible.
really,
Congratulations on that. Yeah.
thank you. I
Yeah.
didn't understand how the regular agency world works with all this clients that show up on the set and they're, you have to have all this client stuff over here and
Yeah. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
never really
Yeah.
worked in that world.
Yeah.
I just didn't, which doesn't diminish anything other than my clients trusted me.
Yeah. And you know what? Another thing I will say this, and they certainly did trust you. There's no doubt about that. And I think because we entered the industry about the same time and
Hmm.
we'd had no muscle memory before that
Right.
of like how things were or how we
Yeah.
comported ourselves or anything. We were also talk about transitional times. We were in a very transitional time because it was going from film to now electronic. You know what I mean? It
Yes.
was it
Yes.
wasn't digital yet,
Right.
but it was analog,
Yeah. It was beta.
and it was
It
beta.
was beta.
Yes, yeah. And you could go in and have a lot more process. And because of that, there were a lot more shoots going on. The expansion of cable TV, which was not there 10 years before that.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? And so we had this very wonderful world that actually was reinventing itself at the time. And it was the perfect time for people like us to come in there and really, we didn't know the difference,
No.
so we utilized it and it didn't scare us, it didn't intimidate us
Yeah.
at all. And that was, and really that is what's going on today as well. You know what I mean? Is that opportunity. Now we're I'm not out on set anymore. You know what I mean? I send all my guys out now, and and that's a much better thing for me. But all of this is new. And I think we haven't even seen the new world yet, if you will. But I draw that back to where we came from and how much those infomercials, I worked on the Tybo. I,
Yeah.
I was one of, I think, six
So then you knew
people.
Mark Amuso. Did you know Mark Amuso?
Yes,
Yeah.
I sure
Yeah.
did. I was
Yeah.
in Marcamuso. Yes, I totally
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know Dave Simmons?
No, Mark and I worked together on Steve Hood's Total Dance. I hired Mark to come in because he did Taebo,
Yeah.
and because we were doing a random dance fitness video. in 9 cameras in LSU at the gym in Louisiana. And I said, Mark, I need help. Can you come?
Wow.
And he helped me with that. And then, yeah, but he was great. But yeah, because of his Taibo success also. You know who to
Yeah, yeah,
call.
yeah,
That's another thing.
yeah,
Know who to
yeah.
call, people, because that's the
Know who to
biggest
call.
thing.
That's a huge one. That's maybe the one. So yeah, we went in there and did 3 days at Glendale Studios.
Yeah,
Never had heard of
Steve
Tybo.
Marcanian.
Yeah, yeah, yes, 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 yes. And
How did
so
we not work together? I
I
don't know
don't
how we
know.
never worked
We were
together.
right on the peripherals. We were right on the peripherals. That's for sure. And so all of those things together. And a year later, talking about the success,
Hmm.
Tybo had sold 60 million
Yeah.
four video sets,
Yes.
and was a wild success.
Yeah.
Now, I learned a lot from that too. And I don't. We did that one, and that's the one that sold all the videos. I think, if I recall correctly, anything they did after that
Didn't work.
really was not
It
successful.
didn't work. It didn't work to the number. So in the infomercial world, which is my world, so I started off with the juice bringing juices that lose up to 13 pounds in just 6 days, right?
Okay.
And then I went on and I created Slender Secret with my Brazilian partner, and that was lose up to, it was a 4 days, right? But I created the product. I created the product. I created the tea, the
Wow.
juice, the soup, the packaging, the artwork, the product. And then
Wow.
Robin Leach was actually in the infomercial, and Mary
Okay.
Matthews and this other gal. I wasn't in that infomercial. I was in, oh, and I was also talent.
Oh,
Okay, I was the talent in 6 Day Bio Diet. I was the person that would go on
uh,
live shopping with Slender Secret on HSN, so
well,
I
no
was
wonder you
live
look
talent.
familiar to me. I saw you probably 24 hours a
You
day.
did, you
Yeah.
did. I was on more than Suzanne Summers was on with 6 Day Bio Diet back in the day. It was
Oh my
$600 million infomercial, right? I mean, come
Unbelievable.
on. So that's what people didn't understand. But shooting a 30-minute infomercial is like
Yeah.
shooting a sitcom.
Yeah. Yes.
Even
I
more
think even more
complicated.
work. I think, yeah, even more work.
Yeah.
Yes, because a sitcom is pretty laid out. That was like you're doing so much stuff. I mean, look, in a 30-minute infomercial, how much is on the cutting room floor? I mean,
Well, a
there's,
absolutely.
yeah,
And the fact that when you think about them, so you've got the product shots, you've got the testimonials, right? You've got the before and afters, you've got the principal photography, you have the host tosses, and it's a massive project.
yeah,
It's just a massive project. You have multiple different days or different
yes.
locations. Let's go to this restaurant and shoot this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, but for the longest time, are you union or non-union?
I'm non-union.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah,
I don't think I ever did a union. I did a union shoot once,
yeah,
once,
yeah, yeah,
and that was never did it again. What a
yeah,
hassle.
yeah.
Um, but
That's a whole different workflow. Yeah,
oh my God, I can
yeah.
remember I didn't call lunch properly. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
call it
Right.
properly,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
one frickin' PA stood on the set until I called it properly for him. Everybody else went to lunch.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
He says, you didn't
Unreal.
call it right. You have to call it right. And I said, yeah, call you to go
Yeah.
home,
Yeah, I call you to
basically.
go home. Yeah, I call you. Yeah, when the phone's not ringing, that's me on the other end. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, that's the other thing also, Bernie, is that when you find your team, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's kind of
Sure.
when you find your team, I never had a lack of work as a producer. I never
Right.
had that lack of work until probably I would say 5 years ago, when things started to be more about shooting on a phone. Oh, my
Yeah.
brother can shoot that video for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
things became raw and real, and it didn't really make any difference what things really look like,
Right.
or
Right.
you know, uh, and also the competition of the younger producers or production companies that come into the space, and then
Right.
you just
Let's
don't get
face it,
hired
it's a
because you're
youthful
older.
business. It's a youthful business. That is what it is. That's the target demographic. Demographically, people in our age group, they're not a big buying market. That is just the way it is. And the economy, the marketplace wants that younger blood in there. That's how we got in. I got maybe in the
Yes.
last little tier I got
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
but that's how we got in, and that's how the next generation. Plus, look how much technology changed. We basically the infomercial was a cable TV invention, you
Yes.
know, and that really, when you had that many more channels to show something on and narrowcast down to those
Yeah.
specific, demographics,
Exactly.
that's what invented it, and look, now we're in a social media world. People are cutting cable, it's a different thing.
Yes, but there video is always king. That's why we're on
Yes,
video right
that's right.
now.
No, that's
I
right.
love
Absolutely.
audio is becoming more of a queen, but it
Yeah,
hasn't taken the place of video yet. So
yeah,
audio, audio and sound design and voice first and Alexa and Google and Hey this and Hey Siri and all that. That's a whole nother creative space, which
right.
is awesome, but it doesn't require lighting. The videos that we see on YouTube and that are beautifully freaking lit. I mean, you see some of
Yes.
these YouTubers
Oh,
and
yeah. Oh,
holy
no, it's great.
crap,
Yeah, there's some good stuff on there for sure. Yeah.
right? I said, "Hey Siri," now Siri on my computer is asking me,
Oh,
"What do you
oh
want?"
no.
Go away, Siri. Hey Siri,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
away.
yeah.
But anyway, so what do you think? Because I don't want to keep you too much longer. What is your real advice to people who, besides keep your skill set going, learn something new every day? Because the opportunity, people are still going to film school. All right, you
Right.
didn't go to film school. I
No,
didn't go to
no.
film school.
I barely got out of high school.
Me too. Me too. Right.
Yeah,
So, but people are still going to film school, and they're
of
spending a
course.
lot of money to go to film school, you see people, they get out of film school, and then what?
Yeah.
Especially now,
Then what?
what
Yes.
advice do you have for people that are younger that are really still dedicated to the craft of movie making?
Well, here is what I would say. You know, dedicate yourself. Remember what your base is. Remember when you fell in love with movies. Okay. You were by yourself, even if somebody was sitting next to you. You were in a dark theater, and you were having an emotional experience
Right.
because someone told you a story,
Yeah.
and that story hit your core, and you decided you wanted to make somebody feel like that as well and know how to make them feel, and you related to that and emoted that, and maybe you wanted to be an actor to begin with and then became somebody in the production business and decided to go to college and figure that out. Remember, at your core, it is to move somebody emotionally to a different place. Okay. Don't get hung up on what movies have been. Movies are an evolving entity. Okay. They started out with no sound, and then we played music over. Then there was sound and you can talk. Then there was color. Okay. Then there was, just to skip way ahead, then there was graphics and CGI and all of these different things that got added onto the picture. Take that and, for lack of a better term, I'm just going to say forget everything you know about movies and think how you go to the next step. The thing that the way somebody hasn't told the story before. There's Think of what they're doing in gaming. Think of what you're
Yeah.
doing in
Yeah.
360. Think of the virtual world. Think of
Right.
the AR world. Think of combining different mediums to tell that emotional story, including social media and character development on there. For you're a storyteller.
Right.
Don't
Now,
be married to the movie. You're a storyteller.
right. Don't be married to the look, be married to the emotion of the story that you want to
Exactly.
tell. Now,
Exactly.
what about, content is being created. We talked a little bit the other day about how I said, in 2008 during the recession, it was weird. I had a lot of work for some reason, and, the post facilities in the commercial world were dying. They were dying, and
Yes.
they were
Oh,
like
dying.
cutting their rates
Yeah.
to,
A
almost nothing.
fast death. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, which then started to come back because we never really thought that all of this content would be being produced by Netflix, original content, Amazon, Hulu, and all that. So
Yeah.
that came back. Unfortunately, with COVID, but we saw a lot of life being reborn in production. Everyone I know, I did about a year at a visual effects house in Burbank a couple of years ago, and we had a stage, but it wasn't really an operable stage. But yet people were coming to us saying, "We need your stage," because there was no stages available because everybody's shooting stuff in LA,
Right.
right?
Right. Yes. It is. Yes. No
So
stages. Yeah.
exactly. So everyone now, if people can understand the magnitude of what happened to the production and people in production now that COVID hit, was
Right.
that, 9 months ago, it was hard to book a stage. I mean,
Yeah.
Netflix, Disney, they all are producing original stuff everywhere. And it was
Right.
wonderful. My editor, who couldn't get a gig 5 years ago, is basically, I can't help you. I'm too
Yeah.
busy.
He's booked for the next year. Yeah.
Exactly. So now that, how do you see this remedy coming about? I mean, I know that Netflix, like, okay, and this is my final question to you, advice. Okay, so someone is, do I get a job at Netflix? Because Netflix is always hiring. Uh,
Hmm.
do I can't, if you get a job with Netflix and they're shooting in Istanbul or outside of the United States, which they're doing a lot of,
Of course.
you can't really go because you can't really, Americans are like, they have the duty sticker on them. You
Hmm.
cannot get out of the country because we're all infected. I can't
Hmm.
go to
Oh yeah.
Ohio.
No. Not now.
You
Yes.
can't,
Not
you can't.
now. Yeah.
So, it's a little bit confusing, right? It's
Right.
like, how do you break into the industry? How do you stay in the industry? How do you find this way of, how do you work remotely? Are there some things that, Netflix is probably, I see them hiring all the time. They're hiring
Right.
all the time,
Right. Right.
right? Um, but it's a completely different world out there. You have to take a COVID test in order to be on a set for production.
Right.
And
Right.
then if one of the crew members is positive, they have to push the entire shoot
Yeah.
down.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
where do you see this quagmire headed?
First of all, COVID is temporary. And it might be temporary in terms of like 2, maybe even 3 years, but it will pass.
Hmm.
Okay. That's not to say another Wind or Buffett may come up into our industry, which I think it always does. I think there's always something in transition because we're a dynamic industry. We're always pushing the envelope for ourselves in this industry.
Right, always
What
changing.
always changing. What I would say is, once again, you have to keep up on skill set. You have to be at the bleeding edge of where this industry is. And I, I I post things on LinkedIn and I get some not pushback, but people go, well, you know what I mean? That's a ways away. That's way. Yeah, it is. But you know what? That's where you need to be
Yeah,
today
it doesn't
because
matter if it's a
that is
ways
the
away.
king tomorrow. Yeah.
That's right.
And that person is going to be the sought after person. I would say this, you have to keep abreast on your knowledge information. You have to take it and put it in context for the industry. In other words, you have to tell what your point of view is on how it's affecting the industry. You have to then verbalize that through social media. You have to put your name on it. You have to get out there. You have to promote yourself.
Right.
There's
Right.
no
Nobody else is
two,
going to do that.
no one else will do it. And there's no two ways about it. And think about what you're doing right now. You're probably on social media looking at what somebody else has put
Yeah.
as new and cutting edge.
Right.
And that's who you want to be.
Right.
And that is the way to become, to take a hold and really demonstrate leadership and put yourself in a position where you're not waiting for the call, you're making the call. And
Yeah,
that's the
and
biggest difference.
you're making a call, which is kind of cool. You're making
Yeah.
a call to a, like you're tossing a wide net, right? You're saying,
Yes.
"Here, I'm going to toss this information out there, and
You're
all
right.
you need is the one person to get caught in that net and say, "You know what? I really need to talk to you because this is something that I know, for instance, my husband, and I have to be non-specific about this, but he works in telecom, and so he's working with a fashion company that basically wants to do something that's unique, but it has to do with streaming to their personal customers. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and they think it's a lot more difficult than it really is. It's like they want to stream like a little fashion show with their personal customers. I
Right.
don't think it's that
It's
difficult,
not that difficult. Yes.
you know. And
Yeah.
but what do I know? Right?
Right.
I'm just the wife that just shuts up, but I really don't think it's that difficult to do that. But they're really going through all of this really crazy, like talking to all of these different big companies that, and I'm thinking all you really need is the DP to talk to, to talk to the right, you know,
It's
Gaff.
it look, it's
It's like
just the
it's
people
super
who know how
easy,
to
isn't
do
it?
it. Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is much easier now than people think it
You're
is.
you're not streaming it to television, everybody. You're streaming it onto a place where maybe it's just live stream, personal live stream, like we're doing right now, for crying out loud. Nobody
Yeah.
sees this but me and you right now.
I don't know if you saw on LinkedIn what I put for a thing with I want to get his name right. Glenn Weiss.
That's my
Okay,
maiden name.
oh, okay, all right. Um, he's directed the Academy Awards, the Emmys. He's directed everything, right? He just directed the entire 4 days of the televised Democratic convention.
Oh,
You
okay,
know,
awesome.
and
I
and I
love that.
watched
That
part
was
of
good.
that, and that was very, very well done.
Yeah.
You know where he did it from?
No.
His den.
Oh my God. So he
He
TD'd it
did
from
it from his
his.
house.
Yeah.
He did it from his house. They had a truck in Delaware, they had a
Yeah.
truck in Detroit, they had a studio in LA, and he called it from his den.
Oh my goodness. Now for people watching and they you don't know when we use a terminology he called it. So this is when you see the guy who is sitting like the Academy Awards sometimes they show, right? Where he's sitting and you see all of these different monitors, multiple different
Right.
monitors. Well, those monitors are cameras. And
Hmm.
he's basically the guy that you're here, okay, camera one, coming to camera two.
Yep.
You'll
Yep.
hear that in
Yep.
the background. This is what and he did it from his
He
den for
did
the
it from his
entire
house.
thing.
On my LinkedIn, I have a picture. It's got 3,000 likes, blew everybody away. But here's the thing. Well, let me just tell you, we've gotten to a point now where getting the message out is as democratic as it's ever been. If you want the message out, you can get the message out.
Yeah.
Here's the thing now here's the really tough part. What are you going to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I
What
agree
are
with you
you
on that.
going to
Yeah,
be? How are you going to demonstrate what your passion is?
right.
And that is really what we're talking about. You know, even me, I stream twice a week. I do Bernie's Apple Box, and I do a show on set live for my sales site. I always have these ideas and stuff. You don't know how often I sit there and go, God, we could do this, but what am I going to say? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? That is
Mm-hmm.
really the question,
Mm-hmm.
not how you get it out. And just another thing. technologically, because I am not a technical person. Believe me, you taking on what you just described to me, you've taken on much more than I could ever handle. I actually hire people to
Mm-hmm.
get me to live stream, right? You know what I mean? So I have a guy I pay that puts me on a live stream. He does all the graphics and all that stuff, and that's
Right.
fine with me. You
Right.
know, that's his thing. I am not technically really savvy. You know,
But it doesn't stop you from
oh, it
being
doesn't.
on there. Yeah.
No, no. I mean, that's actually an advantage
Yeah.
because I don't have to get hung up
Yeah.
in that. And
Yeah.
I just look at what
Yeah.
I'm going to say. But I always say this for the people who think that, oh, anybody can do it, right? So there's no opportunity out there. If you took 100 people, put them on one side of the line, all those 100 people wanted to live stream and they've got a reason to live stream. If you Now you separate the people that one can talk about a vision, bring a guest on, put stuff up on the screen live, and carry the show through, and book guests and do on that. You will end up with no more than 10 people on the other side of that line. That's 90 people who still have good content, all of that that need services. So most people in this world, when they hear live stream, even computer, you know what I mean, or you
Yeah.
do it on a computer, they blank out.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
almost it's impossible for them to learn because they're so blanked out.
Yeah. It's true. It's totally, totally true. And I think that's weird because
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
you
I
know,
mean,
it's what you're comfortable with. Like if you took me and told me that, it's easy to change, to tune up your car.
I,
That would give me so much stress. I would pay double the amount of money not to have to
well,
tune that
yeah,
car up.
I get
You
that. I
know.
get that. I came from a household where my dad paid everybody to do everything for him, right? He didn't.
Yeah.
He never pulled a string of a lawnmower. He never did it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and my
Yeah.
brothers
Right.
probably
Right.
never have either. Not
Yeah.
because they can, not because it was like we were so rich. It was just his attitude towards thing. He
Yeah.
wasn't the guy that went out and
And did that.
and
He
made a
was did
table
that.
on the weekends, right?
Yeah, yeah. There
He
are
just didn't
guys,
do
and I
that.
always admire them. Those are like the real men. You
Yeah,
know what I
me
mean? I said
too.
those are real men. Yeah,
Yeah,
but they go out and they know how to do everything. They'll take it
yeah,
on.
I like
I
that.
I've come to the conclusion that I'm a different kind of guy. I can do maybe one, possibly two things well, and I hire all the rest of it out. You know, and I really came to that conclusion doing what I do because not a lot of people can light. You know what I mean? Walk into a
No,
room and create a mood and an emotion and stuff like that. And I thought, I've really got a talent for this. I've really got a knack. Why am I denying someone else's perfect place? You know what I mean? That they're at and doing what they love to do, and not having them do it and getting it right the first time and getting it right consistently. So
right.
that's a little bit of how my mindset came.
It's interesting because I think that a lot of people don't, especially now with everybody doing Zoom and things like
Yes.
this, it's like they don't understand. Here, I'll share this with you. I'm going to share it with you, my
Okay.
my hack.
Okay.
One second, so you can see it. It's and if anybody would just understand that when they're on, I don't think I can. I have it on my screen. Damn nations! I was going to share my lighting hack with you, but I don't have it here.
Just send me a picture.
I'll
Send me
send
a
you a picture
picture.
of it.
Yeah.
But for anybody looking at me right now, I was telling Bernie that my ring light is actually sitting on top of my laptop on a piece of foam, so I'm looking through it properly. What a lot of people do these days, this is my point, and I hacked that, right? What a
Hmm.
lot of people do these days is they get ring lights. I just want to get your opinion on a ring light,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's such
Yeah.
a current thing. They get
Yeah.
ring lights and they hang them over here. They hang them there. They put them in they're lighting their room with ring lights. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
you doing that for?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a ring light is a very useful tool when it's
Yes.
being used like you're using it, but it's not for every application. You know what I mean? It will emit light. So if you just want to get broad light on something, that's the way to go. You know, it's a good invention. It's something that Kino Flow had a light like that fit over the lens a while back. I have done hacks where I've taken a white card, put Kino Flows around the white card, cut a hole in it to put the lens
Yeah.
through, and
Yeah.
get the same type of look. It's a very efficient tool when used for what you need to use it for. You know what I mean? I find people generally make the mistake of having, unless they have no light, they have too much light.
Right.
I don't know how many people I have seen. I mean, the worst stuff I've seen has been on cable TV and all these news shows where they're interviewing people from their
Yeah.
home. I can't believe it. You know how they treat the CEO in these corporations when you're making an infomercial or
Right.
something. That's
Right.
the star. Yet, these marketing people let them go out on these shows, not even lit, horrible sound,
Yeah.
and you see all that. And so, and
Why do you think they do that? I mean, my
I
first
think it's
reaction is
ignorance.
it's like
Ignorance.
give them a little list, send them $100 and tell them that this is how where to set the laptop or how to set the desktop, how to
Absolutely.
look
You
right
know,
into the camera.
you know
You know,
why? You know why they don't? They don't know.
oh
They
God.
don't know what makes it work. They go into a studio and they look good. They never think about it after that. You know, and it's and for time and time upon whatever, no general manager knows what makes the lighting look good. They know how much the lighting cost. That's all they know
So
about
do
it, and they
you
want the
think
cheapest price.
right, but so now everybody, it's like they do the home things, right? They're not
Yeah.
doing them that much anymore, but they are still doing them from home.
Oh, sure,
And
sure.
uh but that's what I'm talking about. It's like here's a little cheat sheet.
Yes.
Here's you're an
It's
anchor for
so
crying out
simple.
loud,
It's
right?
so simple.
Look at the
Yeah.
look at the
Y-
back of
Yes, it
I
looks
it
great.
this is right, but this is where I really work. This is my
Yeah.
laptop.
Yeah.
This is my desktop, but my laptop is over here because I've staged the back of my office. Now, if you could see really what was back here, but I've got it all striped behind shit and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything. But I'm conscious, like you mentioned, of the background. I'm conscious of what is in my background and how to just move things slightly to the
Yes.
advantage of how it looks in the background.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Oh,
don't
I
make it so the
completely know.
lamp is sticking out of here,
Yeah,
here,
yeah, exactly. Like
like
that,
that.
sticking
Right.
right out of your head, and there's a big gap over there. You know what I mean? On all this. But you know what? The problem with most people, and I tell this to anybody, if you're streaming or something like that, they stop when they look at themselves. They
Oh God.
never, ever, ever look at that background. They never think, how can I improve that? It's usually taking light away
Yeah.
more often than it is adding light. Usually you're hurting things by adding light, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think that is the thing. But look, lighting is the biggest voodoo black magic that is out there
Absolutely.
in our industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There
Everybody's afraid of it.
there was so Oprah Winfrey is known for the whoever does her lighting is like
That's
sleeps with
God
her,
King.
not
Yeah,
sleeps with her,
yeah,
but yeah. but but it's just like an amazing
yeah.
and one time Susan Anton, this is the only story I have that really, well, I have two, but I was shooting at Glendale Studios,
Okay.
and I was shooting three celebrities that day. Susan Anton was one of them. And I had met Susan Anton years and years before that, before I was ever into anything. And so I was looking really forward to seeing her. I'm on the walkie-talkie, and the she arrives. She's in the green room, and someone says to me, "Wendy, could you come to the green room, please?" Like that, like really loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I,
Like,
and Susan Anton is here. You should come and say hello. And so, by the way, I think we have a problem, like that. And I went,
ay,
"Oh."
ay, ay.
So I arrive and I look, and there she is in all her glory. She is old, like nobody's
Yeah,
business,
yeah,
dry,
yeah.
and deep wrinkles, and
Right.
her skin was almost like yellow,
Yeah,
right? Her eyes were yellow. Her
yeah.
eyes were
Wow.
yellow and bloodshot. And I thought, and so I got on and I told my DP, I said, Houston, I think we have a problem. And he
Yeah,
came in and he said, not really a problem. We'll take care of it. And do
Yeah.
you know she looked absolutely
I believe it.
gorgeous?
Yep. I believe it.
Just
Yes.
gorgeous.
Yes. 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 It's amazing what soft light will do.
Oh my God. And
You
that was
know.
back in the beta days. That was back we
Hmm.
weren't even shooting digibeta yet, I don't think.
Yeah. 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 No, and probably had a not a great lens on it, but adequate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she
Yeah.
really that was the first experience that I really had with the power of being able to light someone
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
beautifully,
No,
you know.
that is very good point. And I don't know what he did, but I will bet he probably bounced the light as opposed to direct. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. You change the quality of the light when it's bounced. It's softer, it's less shadows, and it's more beautiful light. You know, and this is a trick I think a lot of people miss. They are next to a white wall. I had a at my office desk, I have a quasar tube. I It's black on one half and translucent on the other half. I put the translucent side to the wall and tape it on the wall. So all I'm getting is wall glow
Right.
when it's
Right.
lighting me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think they need this direct light and then turn it down. You need only a certain amount of light, but you can take away light by not putting it directly on you, have it bounce and stuff like that. And it's
Right.
much better.
Right, much
Yeah.
much more complimentary. The
Yes.
my last question to you, and I think people might want a little tidbit, is like green screens versus white cyc versus like, please people don't be shooting on chroma key if you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot
Right.
of problems with that.
Right.
What's your advice? Because a lot of people like to use these green screens,
Yeah.
but that's a whole different world. And of course, then there's VR and all that stuff. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
white versus, if you're going to shoot on white versus shooting on a green screen, do you have any advice for people out
I would say this green screen, just like the white cyc, is a tool. You know what I mean? If you're shooting on white cyc, you want somebody, you're really featuring the talent,
there? Hmm.
just the same as if you were shooting on black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are making that talent pop. Now, a green screen is for something that you want to place the talent in another environment, or maybe color. Like, suppose if you're saying that you want a certain color of pink
Right.
for
Right.
them, you're going to shoot it on green, put the pink in, and do all that. Here is the biggest problem. Here is the biggest thing that producers and a lot of people miss with green screen. What is my back plate?
Right.
Because if I know the back plate, I know how to light the talent. You know what I mean? I can light the talent any way I need to light the talent. But if I see a back plate, if I know what they're going to be in, I can emulate the same lighting that's on the back plate to make it much more seamless than what you usually see. You
Okay,
know,
so now what you're saying is that you're looking at let's say you're looking at a monitor, or you're looking through the lens. How do you see the backplate? Do you see the backplate already inserted? Like,
well, rarely do I even know what the black plate is. Most people go, well, we haven't picked out where we're going to put what we're going to put there yet. They just have this green screen. They know they want to composite something back there, but they don't know what it
how did
is.
they even do that? How do they know how the talent
I
can
have
move and talk
no
and do?
idea. But there it goes the standard. So now, how am I going to light the talent? I don't know your if your if your if your background is being sourced from one way. You know what I mean? I
Right,
don't know where the
right,
negative side is.
right,
So what you're left with is just to pretty much light them flat. Certainly you
right.
want to know if it's going to be a daylight background or an interior background, if it's going to skew tungsten or daylight. I usually will put edges on everybody so that I've at least got them cut out, you know what I mean? But I don't know if I'm sourcing from the right side or not. So that is probably the biggest problem I have as a lighting guy with green screen, is not knowing what they're going to put on there.
And it's
You
as
know,
simple as bringing, well, as just bringing the backplate with them,
just
right, to
just
the
do your
set.
pre-production. Just do your
Right, right,
pre-production. If you're done your
right,
pre-production, and you can tell me, well, we're going to shoot these things and we're going to put a lot of different backplates on them. I may take a different tack then. You
right,
know what I mean?
exactly.
And light it more infomercially, if you will. You
Jesus,
know
I
what I
can't
mean?
even
You know?
imagine Bernie going onto a
Oh,
set and not even knowing what's going to be and shooting green
so
screen.
so many times I'm in that situation. Yeah,
That's
so many
ridiculous.
times. You know.
So there's a lesson for everyone. It's be prepared. If you're gonna walk on set, be prepared. Talk to your team. If you're producing, talk to Bernie, right? Talk
Yeah,
to him
yeah.
about what it is. I started to bring my editor to the shoot, so my editor from post would be on the shoot,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
could get feedback from my editor because I'm shooting something, but he's thinking editing, right?
Yes.
So
He's
that's
thinking editing. Correct.
exactly. So make sure to get a shot from this angle or to get a shot from that angle or whatever, because in edit, I'm going to need it, kind of thing,
Right.
right? So
Right. Right.
have everybody there. But anyway, I know you have to go.
Yeah. Do you hear my phone ringing? I'm sorry.
We've been talking for an
I'm
hour and a half,
sorry.
and I've taken up way too much of your time.
Hold on. Let me just say, hey, buddy, I'm here. Come to the warehouse door and come on in. I'm doing an interview right now. Uh, all right. Thanks, buddy. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Bye bye.
So
I am
real,
so sorry.
no, it's fine. Yeah, real quick. What is your website? How do people get a hold of you? Blah
Okay.
blah blah.
Okay. My companies are one is onsetlighting.com. That is my sales site. So we sell, I think we have like, well, we have thousands of products and things for all production related. My other one is berniesgripandlighting.com, and that is my rentals. So I send trucks and crews out there
Right.
to help with your production. We work local all through Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Diego. So we're local everywhere, you know.
Okay.
And I am my social media sites are of course Craig Bernie Burns on Facebook, Onset Lighting on Facebook, um, and on LinkedIn. I've got a lot going on over on LinkedIn. I'd say LinkedIn is turning into my number one platform right
Me
now.
too. I
Yeah,
agree. I
yeah,
feel the same
yeah.
way.
It's business to business. It's very
Yeah.
good. Got a lot of good feedback over there. So please come join me on LinkedIn. That's
Yeah.
probably the best place to get a
Yeah.
hold of me.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And hopefully, maybe one day we will
Wendy,
work
thank
together.
you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad we connected after
Me too.
all these years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. I love the fact that there's people, people who were born the 69, 65, whatever, Steve Jobs, Barry
Yeah.
Diller, everybody, none of us went to college and we all were successful.
Yes, yes. No, no, exactly, exactly.
So we're part of that tribe. But thank you,
Thank you
Bernie.
so much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so
You're
much. All
welcome. Have a
right.
great day.
You too. Bye
I'll
bye.
talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye bye.